This is Astro, this is Mia, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can teach your dog to stay to help it with separation anxiety, or help it get over separation anxiety. Astro is the new dog to the house. He's only been here since this summer, so it's about 6 months. And he has separation anxiety. He broke out of a couple kennels, and they put a baby gate in the kitchen, and he has figured out how to defeat that. When he gets out, he chews and destroys things. He knocks the blinds around. Basically, separation anxiety is essentially a panic attack. If you think about puppies, I was just writing about this yesterday, they are very social creatures. They're born into an environment where there's their mother and then all their siblings, and they're with them 24/7 for 8 weeks or longer. Then we adopt them, if we adopt them from a breeder, and then they're with us 24/7. Now, he's from a shelter, and he might have been a street dog or whatever, but a lot of dogs, the first time you put them in a kennel and close the door and leave is probably the very first time that dog has ever been alone of its whole life. That's a pretty difficult thing for anybody to do if you've not practiced being alone. So in dogs that have separation anxiety, it's essentially a panic attack when they're left alone. They don't know how to process it because they haven't practiced it. And then they just start losing control. Some dogs will lose control of their bowels. Some dogs will try to escape. I had a Saint Bernard that broke through a second-story window and climbed on the roof of the house. I had to call the fire department for that dog. I know of other dogs that have literally broken their teeth off the kennel trying to escape. Other dogs that have, what he did is push themselves way through the kennel, but had it not completely open, and so they scratched and bled. And it's going to be dangerous. So basically, what it is the dog just doesn't have any practice being alone. So what I like to do as a dog psychologist is like to find ways to help the dog practice an activity or behavior that they failed in the easiest version possible. And once I have taught the dog each individual step in the easiest version, then I start making it more and more challenging until I work my way back up to the real world situation. So in his case, what we're going to do is we're going to teach him how to stay. And then I'll explain at the end of this video how you can use the stay to help him practice being alone. Now, when I teach the stay for the 3 Ds. First, for duration. I want him to stay for up to 5 minutes right here. Now, normally I would not have another dog here, but it's fine for this demonstration. When you're doing this yourselves, try to do it with one dog at a time. And I would teach them both because it's a good skill that'll help with both of them. It develops self-control. Once he can stay for 5 minutes here, only then do I start incorporating distance. And I do that very progressively as well, and I'll talk about it here in a sec. And then I do distractions. Then I would have him stay when the baby's crying, or when we're cooking some food, or there's people walking by, or a car door outside, or whatever it is. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to teach him to stay for duration. So when I do this, I'm going to have a bunch of high-value training treats. These are chicken liver. I'm going to put my hand halfway between me and him in a stop sign sort of motion. Then I'm going to pull it back and put it on my chest. When I get to the end of the stop sign, I'm going to say my command word, which is stay. And then we need a release word. I started talking to the guardians about this off camera, and I just realized I didn't finish my train of thought. I teach my dogs a wait and a stay. Wait means wait until you hear the next command. Stay means still you hear stay command. Actually, I did. Only the stay command. And so I asked what the release word was, and she didn't really have one. So I say I have 4 dogs, and each one of my dogs has a unique release word. Release, break, freedom, and parole. I like fun command words. Now, putting his paws on me, I'm not gonna interact until he puts his paws down, and then I'll pet him. Do you have any word in particular that you'd like to use? I just never want to use the word okay.
Exodus.
That'll work too.
Sure.
There you go. Bob Marley.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. So we're going to use the word Exodus, if you didn't hear that. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm still waiting for him to put his paw off. That's a little operant conditioning. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reposition him first. He's a little bit close. Here, buddy. I'm tempted to manhandle you, but you don't want to do that. All right, so I'm going to keep all my treats in my left hand. I'm going to use my right hand to signal. Before I start, I'm going to put, you see how he's so triggered on that? So while he's paying attention to this hand, I'm going to put this one behind my back. I'm going to say stay, put my hand back, and I count in my head. 1, 2, 3. Stay. Stay. Now I'm counting to 6. Stay. Remember, anytime you give a treat, they should have the command word after the treat goes in their mouth. So you want to practice this. You want to kind of get some momentum. So I'm going to do 9 seconds. And make sure you count in your brain, because otherwise you won't know when your dog gets up and moves away what stage you were at. So now I go again. Stay. Stay. Now you're going to keep on doing this. You want to do this maybe 5 to 10 times. But then before we end, we want to make sure that we communicate that you're done. And that's how we introduce the release word. So to do that, I normally would throw it there, but I'm afraid she's going to get it, so I'm going to throw it over here. I'm going to throw a treat about 2 or 3 feet away, and I'm going to say the command word. Exodus, after the treat goes in the dog's mouth. So every time you're practicing this, you practice however many repetitions, and at the very end, you throw the treat away, and when he goes and gets it, we say the word Exodus. Eventually, you can just say Exodus, and the dog will know we're done and walk away. Okay, so for this one, you want to keep on going in short practice sessions. And this is best done, I'll pay that sit, in short sprints throughout the day. Now, eventually, we're going to get up to 5 minutes, but ideally, when you're training your dog, you really should keep training sessions less than 90 seconds, unless it's something like the stay, or we're going beyond that. So at first I might do 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, or whatever it is. Next time I might go by 4s, then I might go by 5s. But let's say I go from 5s to 10s. So I go stay and go to 10 and give him the treat, and I go stay and I get to 8 and he gets up and walks away. Well, then that means that I haven't practiced enough at the previous step. So I'd back up, instead of going from 10 to 20, I might go from 10 to 15. So always back up a step, and that's why you want to count in your head so you can always back up. The idea, and for stay, he has to have 100% success rate. So if he fails and auto-releases and moves away, that means you need to back up and practice a couple more at the previous one until he's consistently reliable at that distance. This takes a lot of time and practice. It's easy, it just takes a lot of repetition. So one of the little tricks that we use is you might want to get a bunch of these treats, and let's say, and you could tear these in half if you want to make them last a little bit longer. So let's say that we want him to practice 50 times a day. If I'm going to tear them in half, I might take 25 of these, put them in a ramekin or a Ziploc bag on the kitchen, and then at the end of the day, that should be empty. So if it's not, every time we walk in, oh wow, there's a whole bunch there, I'm going to have to grab some and practice a little bit of stay. Now when we practice stay, we don't want to practice stay just here. Or practice over there, in that room, in that room. Dogs don't generalize. They need to do things in multiple locations in order to figure that out. Now, for my puppy quest, I had to do a week of 1-second stays. Because I tried to go 2 seconds, he would get up or he would start offering other behaviors. It's hard for a dog to sit here and not do anything. So that's why we don't move on to distance until the dog can stay here for 5 minutes this close. So once you get up to that point, then you're ready to start incorporating distance. Now, the way that I do it, I'm not going to get up because it'll be a hard shot. My knees are probably asleep anyways. So I'm going to say stay. I'm going to take 1 step backwards. I'm going to pause for 2 seconds, come back and give them another treat and say stay. So if I take 1 step back, I count to 2. If I take 2 steps back, I count to 4. 3 steps back, I count to 6. I just double the length of time of the number of steps. And that's my genesis point. Every dog is unique. So don't have to, that's how I start off, but I customize it based on that. The idea is you want to get to the point where you can be 15 feet away and the dog's staying. So you walk however many feet away, 15 feet, and I count 30 seconds. I've already achieved this duration, so that duration's easy. Now, when I get to 15 feet and then I have to count it back and come back and give them the treat, stay. Now, let's say I walk back and I'm at 16 feet. Let's say I'm walking back there. I want to walk back, and let's say the wall is right here, and I walk here, I walk backwards, I step right outside the wall so the dog is over here, it can't see me. And at first I just step out of sight for 1 second, walk back, and then come back and give the dog a treat. So the first time I go out of its sight, it's only like a half a second. Then I do stay again and walk back the 15 feet or the 16 feet, and I go, and this time I stay away for 2 seconds. And then 3 seconds, and go progressively until you can get your dog to stay for 5 minutes with you out of sight, out of the room. Only then would we be really willing to, or ready to start practicing for distractions with a dog barking on TV or the cars outside or whatever it is that causes them to bark. So once we've gotten to that point, now we're ready to start using the stay to help the dog practice being alone. Like I said earlier, the separation anxiety is a panic attack of being left alone because I don't have any practice doing it. Well, when you leave me, well, now that's the hardest capacity because you're gone. And now I panic and I freak out and I have to try to, a lot of times they destroy things, so they're trying to get outside to find you. A lot of dogs have separation anxiety. Well, dogs have separation anxiety for 1 or 2 reasons. Number 1, I freak out when I'm left alone. Number 2, I think I have to protect you. And when you leave and close the door, I have to go find you. Now, some dogs are okay being with another dog that helps them with separation anxiety. Some don't, and clearly that's the case here. So basically the idea is once we can do this, we want to put him in a stay while we do very mundane things and help him stay for progressively longer and longer periods of time while we're here. So he's practicing being alone in an easy capacity because you're just in the next room or the dog's in the next room and you're here. So you put him in a stay and go get a drink of water, come back, and then give him his Exodus release word. Put him in a stay, go throw a load of laundry in, come back and give him his exodus release word. Put him in a stay and make a sandwich or change clothes or use the bathroom or whatever it is. The idea is to do activities that are progressively longer and longer and longer, to the point where you can put him in a stay in the other room, come in here and watch a half-an-hour TV program, go back there and release it. Now, when it comes to dog behavior, once you've achieved up to 2 hours, you don't have to practice beyond that. For some reason, when it comes to dogs can do something for 2 hours, they can do it beyond that. So basically, you might have to practice and get him to the point where it's 2 hours. I don't think you will, but that would be the maximum you would need to practice. But again, always count in your head and always back up a step if he fails it. Now, let me see. Trying to think of the other things. There are some other things that we can do for separation anxiety. So first of all, we can exercise him. If he doesn't have exercise and we leave, now he's got all this energy and he's in a panic attack. That's a bad combination. So before we leave, maybe we take him the stairs. We do the stair exercise, the laser, and any of the creative things I talked to you about off camera, or take him out for a real walk. Then come back and then get ready to leave. Well, I guess before we practice this, we want to exercise so he doesn't know, is this a practice or is it a real deal? So then the next stage, what we want to do. That was a baby. So the next stage, what we want to do is, or the next thing that we want to do is we want to desensitize the dog to all the triggers that are related to you leaving. Now, before I get to that, when you come and go, do not make a big deal out of your dogs. Matter of fact, you should ignore them. Most of us confuse excited for happy when it comes to dogs. We come home, the dogs jump up and they're all excited. We're like, oh, what a cute doggy. See how that energy, just that energy of my voice made them all excited? Well, now we're making a big production when I come home. Oh, they're about to come. And then we make it into something they freak out about. So when you come home, if they're excited, you should ignore them. Don't even look at them. Pretend like they're not even there. Walk in and then wait for them to have this energy. When they calm down like this and you start reaching, the dog's going to wiggle and get back up. Pull your arm back and continue about your thing. What you're saying is, I'm only interested in you when you're nice and calm. Excuse me. Thank you. There you go. When you're calm, you're very attracted to me. I reach out to pet you. When you get excited, you become invisible to me. But again, we want to make it a non-production when we come and we go. Otherwise, we can contribute to the separation anxiety. So basically, once the dog settles down, you start reaching, you start wiggling, you pull back. Eventually, at first you'll have to reach this much, then this much, then this much, then this much, and you start talking and dealing with them or interacting with them. But it's a progression. Always back up a step. Now, the other thing is the triggers that I talked about a second ago. Before the dog actually has a panic attack for separation anxiety, they get worked up. Before we leave, we go through a ritual. So one of the guardians here, I won't say what she does, but she has a uniform. And so when she gets ready for work, she puts on her uniform. It's a very specific art of clothing. Cosmo. And the dog recognizes, every time that clothing goes on, she leaves. And she's gone for a long period of time. Or every time she picks up the keys, they're about to leave. Or they put their sunglasses on, they grab their purse, they grab their wallet, they grab stuff for the baby. All these things become associated with you departing. What we want to do is help your dog practice hearing those things without the distraction. So if your dog, of course, I don't have them in the right pocket, but if your dog is triggered by the sound of keys, well, then you want to help your dog practice hearing those keys. So what you do is we want to practice the stimulation without the other association of you leaving. So you walk over, pick up the keys, pick up the keys, put them back down, and go sit down. Normally you pick up the keys, you leave, and you guys have the keychains by your door. So go over there, pick it up, and then put it right back, and then go sit down, and then watch more TV. Get a habit in this, like when you're going to go to the bathroom or going to change the baby or whatever. So the dog's like, oh, we're not going. And so we take the excitement out of hearing those keys jingle. But a lot of times when we get ready for work, we sit here and we put our work shoes on. Well, this chair, she's getting ready to abandon me. And that's when they start working themselves up into a frenzy before you actually leave. And by the time you leave, they're freaked out. So the idea is to practice all the activities that get them worked up. And a good way to do this is, if you can, when one of you is not working, if that's ever possible, then have the other one just kind of film the dogs as you're getting ready. And narrate. Anytime you see a burst of energy, just put on the shoes, just sat down in this chair, just picked up the keys, grabbed your lipstick or whatever it is. And so that way later on we know these are the triggers and the things we need to help the dog practice us doing over and over without the association of us leaving. So if we can help the dog not panic when it starts seeing these little things going, it doesn't freak itself out, and we help the dog practice staying in the easiest capacity and then progressively longer and longer and longer periods, eventually when we do leave, The dog is practiced at being alone, and it's practiced being calm when we pick up our keys, when we put on our... But when you're doing the triggers, don't do them all in a row. Just sit here and do your shoes. And don't do just the shoes until it's done. Do that one, then 5 minutes later, pick up the keys. 5 minutes later, pick up your purse. 5 minutes later, grab your backpack. And do all these things sporadically throughout the day so that, again, the dog doesn't make that association. And then, like I said, it's just practicing having the dog stay when you do. And again, we have a baby in a nursery. Stay while I go change the baby's poopy diapers. Then come back and release the dog. All right. Any questions? This is a long video. If you have any questions, please text me or call me. I'm available for you. This is Mia, and this is Astro. This is the dog bed we call Cosmo. And these are tips and tricks that you can use if you have a dog that has separation anxiety.